Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam.
Narayanam Namaskrityam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudire.
Tato Jayamudire.
Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu.
Nashtaprayesu Bhadresu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, titled The Opulence of the Absolute, in this wonderful Sangha of Bhakti Vriksha. We're doing from our temple every Saturday evening. Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Dadati Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Any Prabhupada Mataji?
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Tesang Satata Yuktanang.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Bhajatang Priti Purvakam. Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tang.
Dadami
Dadami Yogam Tam.
Yena Mamu Upayanti Te.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Yena
Yena
Mam
Mam
Upayanti
Upayanti
Te.
Te.
Tesam Satata Yuktanam.
Tesam Satata
Yuktanam.
Yuktanam.
Bhajantam Priti Purvakam.
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Dadami Yuddhi Yogam Tam.
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
Yena
Yena
Mam
Mam
Upayanti
Upayanti
Te.
Te. Word by word meaning. Tesam unto them.
Tesam
unto them.
Satatam Yuktanam. Always engaged.
Satata Yuktanam.
always engaged.
Bhajatam.
Bhajatam
In rendering devotional service.
in
in
rendering
rendering
devotional
devotional
service.
service.
Priti Purvakam,
Priti
Priti
Purvakam,
Purvakam,
Pratipurvakam,
in loving ecstasy.
in
in
loving
in loving
ecstasy.
ecstasy.
Dadami,
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 I give.
I give
I
I
give.
give.
Buddhi Yogam,
Buddhi Yogam,
Buddhi Yogam,
real intelligence.
real
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 intelligence.
intelligence.
Come that,
Come that,
Come that,
Yena, by which,
Yena,
ena by which,
Mam unto me,
come
Mam,
unto me.
Upayanti, come,
Upayanti, come.
Upayantikam.
they.
They,
they,
they.
Translation by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
To those who are constantly devoted,
To those who are constantly devoted,
Devoted.
to serving me with love,
to serving
serving
me.
me with love,
Serving me with love.
I give the understanding by which
I give the
I
I
understanding
give the
understanding
by
by
which
understanding by which
they can come to me.
they can come
they
to me.
can come to me.
Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read this page of the screen?
In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjun, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed and the ultimate goal is achieved.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else would like to read this page?
when a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in Karma Yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in Jnana Yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life.
Anyone else would like to read the third page here?
A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to the spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress in Krishna from within, gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him.
Thank you, Prabhu. And let's chant the mantra together so that we save some time. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै
तस्मै
श्रीगुरवे नमः।
श्रीगुरवे नमः।
श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं
श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं
येन भूतले
येन भूतले
स्वयं रूप
स्वयं
कदा
रूप
मह्यं
कदा मह्यं
ददाति
ददाति
स्वपदान्तिकं।
स्वपदान्तिकम्।
वन्देऽहं
हेयं
श्रीगुरो
श्रीगुरौ
श्रीयुतपदकमलं
श्रीपादकमलं
श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च
वैष्णवांश्च
श्रीरूपं
श्रीरूपं
साग्रजातं
सागरजातं
सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं
रघुनाथान्वितं
सजीवम्
तं सजीवम्
ध्यात्वितं
अद्वैतं
सावधूतं
सावधूतं
परिजनसहितं
परिजनं
कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं
कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं
श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान्
कृष्णपाद
सहगण ललिता
ललिता
श्रीविशाखान्वितं च
श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च
हे
हे
कृष्ण
कृष्णा
करुणा
कृष्ण
सिन्धु
करुणा सिन्धो
जगत्पते
जगत्पते
गोपेश गोपिका
गोपिका
कान्ता नमोस्तुते कांचन गौरांगी राधा वृंदावनेश्वरी
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
सरस्वती
ईशमानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि
प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये
भूभ्यश्च कृपा
एव च
पतितानां
पतितानां
पावनेभ्यो
पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
नमो नमः।
जय श्री कृष्ण
जय
जय
श्री कृष्ण
कृष्ण
चैतन्य
चैतन्य
प्रभु
चैतन्य
प्रभु
नित्यानंद
नित्यानंद
श्री अद्वैत
यद्वैत
गदाधर
अद्वैत
शिवासादि गौर भक्त
गौर
वृंद।
भक्तवृंद
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
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 हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे हरे
हरे राम
हरे
हरे
राम
राम
हरे राम
राम राम
हरे राम हरे हरे.
So what a verse to ponder today in this beautiful summer months. And here, Krishna, this is the third verse of the Chaturshloki. The Chaturshloki is essentially the four verses where the essence of Bhagavad Gita is ingrained. And the last 2 weeks, we went to 10.8 and 10.9, which are the first two slokas of the Chaturshloki. And the next two are the 10 and 11 verses. So, so here Krishna is beautifully saying Tesam Satata Yuktana. But before we go into this, let's try to understand what are the Chaturshloki verses talking about. So the first Chaturshloki verse, which we discussed 2 weeks back, is two verses prior to that, where Krishna is saying, what does devotees do? They understand that Krishna is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhava. Matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajantema buddhavava samanvita. That means the devotees who are deriving uh, bliss by doing devotional service, they think that aham sarvasya prabhava. That means everything comes from Krishna. So this is the first Chaturshloki where Krishna is giving the traits of a devotee. And then he goes on to say, what does devotees do again? They derive bliss by conversing about Krishna's glories. Machita matgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayanta shamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha tushyanti ramanti. That means they're deriving bliss and they're getting a lot of satisfaction by discussing. So these two verses in Chaturshloki, the first two verses of the four Chaturshloki, quadruplets, talks about what devotees do. So this verse, which is the third verse, and of course the fourth verse, which is going to be the next week, Krishna is discussing how does he reciprocate. So this is the verse where we're going to discuss how does Krishna reciprocates to the devotees based on what they do. So beautiful exchange which is happening between devotees and Krishna in this beautiful song of God, Bhagavad Gita. And we have to understand in poetry, Bhagavad Gita is a poetry, as you know. It's the song of God, where God and the interaction around is happening. And the first two verses of the Chaturshloki puts a context, and then how Krishna is revealing himself in this beautiful 10.10. It is this verse is one of the most quoted words in the Bhagavad Gita. So once we understand this verse, then our confusion around Jnana Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, Karma Yoga will all go away, because all these yogas are all Bhakti Yoga by itself. There is no Karma Yoga without Bhakti in there. There is no Jnana Yoga without Bhakti in there. So we have to understand this verse in the context of what Krishna is saying, Tesam Satata, those who are constantly engaged. So that means you are constantly engaged in thinking about Krishna. Bhajatam priti purvakam. That means you are constantly engaged in serving Krishna with devotion. Bhajatam priti purvakam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. If you're constantly serving or engaged, to those Krishna gives the knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna gives them knowledge. And then yenama upayantite, by which they can come to Krishna. So whenever you are trying to do something, like say for example, you have come to Krishna consciousness for money. Krishna gives money. He says it in one of the verses. We'll go into that. But what happens is when you constantly engage in coming to me, starting with whatever your desire is, then eventually that gets dovetailed into devotion. A time will come, Krishna will reveal himself. Unless Krishna reveals himself to us, we cannot know Krishna. See, most of the time we go around, we seek education. Now is the time for graduation. People seek knowledge. People try to gather a lot of information, and for knowledge acquisition they come. But through that, the intelligence may come. But Krishna is using a word here, which Srila Prabhupada beautifully says, the real intelligence. There is a difference between intelligence and real intelligence. Like say, for example, the apple fell from the tree. When the apple fell from the tree, the knowledge can be, the apple got crushed, it came down, it got shattered, and it got wasted. We have to use that information in trying to preserve the apple. So that's one form of knowledge. But what Newton did is he extracted the real knowledge as to why did the apple did not go up. Why did apple come down? That is real knowledge, the real intelligence. But the intelligence around wasting of the apple when it gets crushed on the floor so that you can put a net is also intelligence. But the real intelligence is the essence. So you can come to Krishna for many personal benefits. I know once Yadutta Maharaj was giving a class in Vrindavan, and he said at that time in 60s and 70s, there are different kinds of people who came to Krishna consciousness for different reasons. To understand what Krishna consciousness is, why is this group so strong? Their understanding of joining the movement is not to surrender, is to understand how does this organizations work. And eventually they fizzle out. They do not stay in Krishna consciousness, and Krishna doesn't give their mercy. So Krishna chooses to reveal himself the way you want. And here Krishna is giving the problem and Krishna is giving the solution. Here he is saying to those people who are constantly devoted to me, are constantly engaged in my service, then I give the knowledge. So you see, it starts with bhakti, but then it transcends into jnana, and then it goes back to bhakti. So bhakti and jnana are no different. Bhakti and karma are no different. That is the purpose and that is the outcome of the real knowledge. But there are people who will differentiate all of that. If you're doing Krishna consciousness, you have understood everything else in the sense that you have the real knowledge, which is what Krishna is mentioning. So in order to open a machine and try to see how it works, you have to look at the manual. And based on how the manual is revealing to you, you use the machine accordingly. Or you could choose to not look at the manual and do some hook or crook. But then you do not have the real knowledge. So here, Krishna is giving the real knowledge that who is constantly engaged in me constantly engaged in Krishna or his activities or his place of worship or his devotees, they come to me. So the question becomes, who are, and before we go there, we just want to discuss, Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, said to Giriraj Maharaj, there are two things we have to do to preach Krishna consciousness. We need to have a strong organization and we need to have knowledge. And here Krishna is talking about knowledge, transcendental knowledge. And only by organizing the dissemination of knowledge with the devotees in a big way, Krishna will reveal himself. So we should have an outlet for engagement. And once the outlet for engagement in devotional service is there, then the knowledge is going to be revealed to you. All of you have interaction with the spiritual personalities in various different ways. Sometimes you see this group of devotees, of 8 devotees or 10 devotees, you're very special because you have understood everything else. You understood the mechanical challenges of Maya or illusory energy of the Lord. And after understanding all of that, you're filtered through. That's the reason why we do not need people in hordes, in hundreds. We need essentially devotees who, once they get engaged, there is no benefit for the person who is getting you engaged. It's actually benefiting all of you, because in doing so, Krishna is going to reveal yourself. Beautifully, Krishna is saying, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tat. That means by engaging, by just engaging, like say, for example, you practice a cricket shot. By constantly doing cricket shot, it reveals to yourself as to what is the best way to interact. So it's the workings of the karma in terms of the playbook of the game. But here, Krishna is taking it to a higher level by saying the real knowledge is revealed by Krishna himself. So we shouldn't think Bhakti Yoga is a mundane thing when there is no knowledge. Bhakti Yoga is filled with knowledge, and that knowledge is not some bookish knowledge which is given to you by somebody. It is essentially revealed by the Supreme. And that's where Sangha Shakti Kali Yogi, that means in this age of Kali, the association is very powerful. So here, let's talk about a situation where a group of birds, they came, they saw some food on the floor, and they came and started eating. That got them attracted. But that food was actually a trap by a hunter who wanted to catch all of these birds. Then, after eating or falling victim to the desire and greed, which is essentially why they fell to this nice food which is lying on the floor, the nuts and niceties which is lying on the floor, they realize that the desire and greed has got them entangled. And in this case, the entanglement is the illusory energy, or Maya in this case for us. So once they got entangled, they realize they have to unshackle themselves from the net. Sanghe Shakti Kali Yuge. So then one bird recognized that if we are going to die, the hunter is coming. But at this time, if we together lift ourselves, if we together try to fly, then maybe the right knowledge of revealing the knowledge to the birds by trying to lift themselves comes in at the time of crisis, and then all the birds took off at the same time. And when the bird took off, because the intelligence set in those birds that together lift the net, when they together lift the net, the hunter is watching and the net gets released. So we are exactly like that. We are caught in this net of desire and greed. And once we have this desire and greed, we get entangled. And this entanglement is a cyclical process. This greed this illusory energy, the desire, and it's so cyclical that we fall victim to it. So we have to unshackle ourselves. When you try to unshackle yourself, the only way is to get the right knowledge, the real knowledge. Buddhi yogam tam. That real knowledge can only be revealed to you. Krishna reveals to different people in different ways. Your interaction with the Supreme is very personal. So this verse is the most merciful verse in that context, because here the Supreme Krishna is actually revealing himself by talking about reciprocation as to how he reveals. When you get engaged, you get the knowledge. When you don't get engaged, you don't get the real knowledge, which is why there is so much of confusion in this world, because they do not get the real knowledge. So here, so who are the four kinds of people who come to Krishna? Chaturvida vajantema, janashu kritana arjuna, artha jigyashu artharthi, yani cha bharata arshava. So there are four kinds of people who come to Krishna. They come for different reasons. And all of us are in any of this category, because we did not take to Krishna consciousness right from day one. We came through different channels. What are the four channels? Four kinds of people who come to Krishna consciousness? The desirer of wealth, a person who is looking for money. The second kind of people, Chaturvida Vajanteva. There are four kinds of people who come to Krishna consciousness. Initially, they start with desiring to get money, wealth. The second kind of people who come to Krishna consciousness are the inquisitive people, the people who are curious about what's happening, who is the Supreme, who am I, what is the relationship. And the first thing is artha, the distress, jigyashu, the artharthi, the person who is looking for artha, wealth, jigyashu, the inquisitive. And then finally, yanis come to Krishna, the people who are searching for absolute knowledge. So these are the four people who come to Krishna consciousness. So if you, and all these devotees eventually get to the Supreme. You see, there are different paths to Krishna consciousness. Even if you come for money, don't lose heart. You come to the right place. Krishna consciousness is the right place. So let's take an example for this path. The devotees who started with these four different origins and how they eventually became great devotees. So Gajendra, when he was caught by the crocodile, was very distressed. Very distressed. And we can speak on these pastimes on and on for a long time. But for the sake of time, think that Gajendra, when he was caught by the crocodile, he was very, very distressed. And the fighting broke for a long time. Gajendra was a very good person in the prior life. And finally, he had to surrender. And when he surrendered, Vishnu came with Garuda to give him true knowledge. And then he offered the flower in his trunk, and then he became a devotee. Distressed Gajendra, the elephant, and finally he transitioned into a devotee, the distress. The second is desire of wealth. You remember the Suniti Surichi pastime of Dhruva Maharaj along with his father Uttanapat. Then there was a situation where Dhruva, who is actually the stepson of the second wife of Uttanapat, was thrown out from the land. So he wanted a kingdom which is bigger than his ancestors. So he came for wealth. Dhruva Maharaj, who turned into a wonderful devotee, we have spoken about Dhruva Maharaj a lot. But actually Dhruva Maharaj started with desiring a big kingdom. Some of you have come to Krishna consciousness for money. It's nothing wrong in that, because Lakshmi ji is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead's feet. So if you're coming for Lakshmi, there is nothing wrong or not to be felt that there are wonderful personalities who have come for wealth, and by course of interaction where Krishna reveals the true knowledge, as he's saying, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tap, he got Narada, interacted with Dhruva Maharaj, and eventually, when he got the entire kingdom, he realized, what am I going after? Bhakti is so sublime that these things are nothing in comparison to these big kingdom. He got everything, came as a desirer of wealth, artharthi, but eventually transitioned into a great devotee. Krishna reveals himself in different ways to different people. Gajendra, different. Gajendra was distressed, different. Dhruva Maharaj came for money or came for kingdom, different. Now, inquisitive, Jigyasu. The four Kumaras, they were very inquisitive, and the game went to Jaya Vijay to get into the place where the Supreme Personality was resting. Jaya Vijay didn't allow. Then there was a scuffle which broke in, and finally, when the Supreme Personality came, smelling the Tulsi and Chandan from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through pure inquisitiveness, they came and they finally surrendered to the Supreme. They went on to become great bhaktas through the path of inquisitiveness. Another example of how Krishna reveals differently to different personalities, and then the searching for knowledge. Sukadev Goswami was the son of Vyasadeva. Initially, he was a Jnani. He was not a Bhakti Yogi. He was a Jnana Yogi. And he was not seeking knowledge from his father, who was Vyasadeva himself, who epitomizes Bhakti by writing Srimad Bhagavatam. He didn't listen. And finally, a verse, which we can go on and on, came to his attention, and how he transformed himself. You see these huge personalities, Gajendra the elephant, Dhruva Maharaj, Kumaras, Sukadev Goswami, Krishna choose to reveal themselves differently. But these are transitional devotees. But who are the universal devotees? Who right from the beginning had tremendous faith in Krishna consciousness? Prahlad Maharaj, universal devotees without transition. Prahlad Maharaj was not a human being in that context, because he was born to a Rakshasa. He was born to Hiranyakashipu. So in right sense, he was not a Manushya in that context, Prahlad Maharaj. He was not a human being you think about. If you deeply think about, he was not born to a Brahminical family. He was not even a human being to start with. He was actually a demon. He was born from a demon, Kayadhu. Hiranyakashipu at Kayadhu. Then Hanuman, he was a monkey. He didn't have to go through this transition. He was a universal devotee. He was a universal devotee. Jatayu, the bird, the Garuda, the bird. If you see, the devotion is such transcendental that all these personalities are not human beings to start with. The love is so inherent, it can come from anybody. It can come from a monkey, it can come from a bird, it can come from a demon. So the love, the bhakti is inherent in all of us, but we have this covering due to which we are not able to see. That's why you have transitional devotees and you have universal devotees. Krishna says these transitional devotees, they come through certain channel, and he reveals himself because they bhajatam priti purvakam. That means with love and devotion, they engage themselves. Engaging in devotional service is so important that Krishna will come and give different knowledge, and through the different knowledge acquisition process, the revealing happens differently, and then Krishna consciousness enlightens all of us differently. That's the reason why whenever there is such huge festivals, devotees are so much engaged. They will see some Prabhujis and Matajis, tears of joy comes to them, and that is transcendental. And once you experience that, you don't want, and that is when the Lord is around in a Rath Yatra or a Nishina Chaturdasi, you don't want anything from the Lord. You say, what can I do for you? What can I do for the devotees? That is a transcendental experience which nothing can match. So this Krishna consciousness is an experience. It's not an exam by which you do something, you get a initiation or some exam. It has to be experienced, and there's no end to it actually. When you look at these exalted devotees, you're never going to get there. So it's experience. With experience, you can enjoy bhakti. With experience, you can participate in bhakti. But you cannot think that you have reached the epitome of bhakti and that is the end, you stop. It's experience. So Krishna gives intelligence to experience and come to him. In order to come somewhere, if you want to go to a certain place, that place where you're going, that person has to tell you what the address is. Otherwise, you cannot reach there. Likewise, Krishna reveals himself based on how you engage yourself. So, but this intelligence can only be understood in the right context. Intelligence is not something you do a PhD or do a postdoc. Intelligence is in surrender and sincerity. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India and he went into the premises of Ranganath temple near Trichy, if you've gone there, it's a beautiful temple. It's a beautiful Vaishnava temple. And it's a very tall temple. It's a huge temple just outside the boundary of the Ranganath temple. Just in the bylands, you'll see beautiful Jagannath Baldeva Subhadra Mai, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu temple is just around that place. It's in Srirangam, which is probably 10 kilometers from Trichy. And so he saw, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, he saw a simple Brahmana who was illiterate. He's reading Bhagavad Gita. And this Brahmanas, near and dear Brahmanas, they were making a mockery of him because they know that this Brahmana doesn't know how to read. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is seeing that this Brahmana is reading and tears are streaming. When everybody knows that he doesn't know how to read, he's illiterate. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes in and he saw him in tears and asked him, why are you crying reading Bhagavad Gita? Then the Brahmana says his guru instructed the Brahmana to regularly read the Bhagavad Gita, even if he's illiterate, and not to disobey the guru. He's trying to execute the process of reading by just holding the book. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you're following the orders of your guru of reading, but why are you crying? Then the Brahmana replied, when I sit down to read the Bhagavad Gita, the picture or the form of Lord Krishna as Parthasarathi, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is actually a driver, and his devotee is the master. So as soon as he sees the form, he remembers how the Lord is a devotee of his devotee. So when Krishna transcends himself to work for you, you have nothing to worry about. So in bhakti, what happens? Krishna chooses to work for the devotees. When the Supreme Personality is working for the Supreme, then this Karma Yogi, the so-called Karma Yogi, the so-called Bhakti Yogi, the so-called Ashtanga Yogi, what can they achieve? When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is working for his devotees. That means the devotees are the most powerful people in the world. You think about it. So that's the reason why when the Supreme works for you, in the case of Parthasarathi, and that is making the Brahmana cry. And when he says that, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told that you are truly understood the essence of bhakti, which is in surrender and sincerity. Surrendering in the sense of what his guru has told, and sincerity in following the regulation of whatever is given. If you have these two things, the two S in your life, you are intelligent enough. And so even if Mayavadis are always eager to merge with the non-dual Supreme Brahman and become God, but that small brain cannot understand how Supreme Personality of Godhead can become a servant of the devotee, of his devotee, and carry out of God. So when the Mayavadis try to become God, the bhaktas understand that the God is working for you. So there is nothing, there is no reason for you to think how to become God or merge with the Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. So this is where bhakti is so supreme that once you engage, Krishna gives the engaged intelligence, the real intelligence, and you can prosper in your life and advance in bhakti. So with this, I would like to end here. We can go on and on, but would like to have some discussion, because such a powerful verse, if you have understood this verse, you have probably understood Bhagavad Gita in true sense. So with that, I would like to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Any question or comments, Prabhu?
Thank you
Anything
so much, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very good examples, Prabhuji. Sorry, I had in and out because I was having a signal issue. But very good examples you have given for each, how Krishna gives the intelligence. Appreciate that. Yeah.
You want to add anything, Prabhu?
I had some points, Prabhuji. I'm losing my train of thought. I'll once by the end of the discussion I may recollect.
Okay.
Sure. But thanks very much.
Any other comments? Niranjan Prabhu, Shanta Mataji has joined, Pradeep Prabhu has joined. Any comments, questions? And Prajapati Prabhu from India has joined as
Thank
well.
you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. I don't have any.
Prabhuji, when are you coming to this site? In a
Oh, I
week's
will
time?
come by June end.
By June end, okay. All right. We'll look forward to seeing you. You'll be in perfectly in time for Rath Yatra. So please, please come. We are missing you.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
Nice class, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, I really like the examples of Bard and Hunter, the example that you have given, and also the universal devotees and the transitional devotees. So those examples are really nice. Yeah, so one actually there's one query I have actually. So Prabhuji, you know, like
ઘરે કરીશું. તમારે જવું હોય તો જાઓ.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, so generally, Prabhuji, you know, like like we have to upgrade our skills, right? Generally, so generally, whenever you know, I'm trying to learn new skills or something like that, right? Something is coming to onto my consciousness, saying that, you know, why you are wasting your time? Like this is not required. Like you have to study scriptures or you have to study, you know, Prabhupada books and something like that. Okay, with that, actually, I'm not able to concentrate on my, you know, technical skills because I'm kind of outdated now. So whenever I'm trying to, you know, learn something, something is coming to my consciousness saying that, you know, don't try to waste these, you know, these material things. Try to, you know, study Gita or something like that. Okay, so these kind of situations, how to, you know, I'm not sure, like, because I have to also be study, right? Like technical skills also have to improve, right? So those cases, like how to, like, I'm not sure, like how do I change my mind? Yeah.
A great question, Prabhu. So what happens? We all go through, because a uh, we have a family life. We have to maintain the family, and in this age where the technology advancement is happening so strongly, unless we keep pace with news around economy, you know recession or whatever, so we will have challenges maintaining the family. So, but the thing is, Prabhu, family is very important. If the family life is hurt in any way, the bhakti will also get distorted. This is because uh, bhakti is not leaving everything and going to Himalayas, as we discussed earlier. So I would encourage you to learn the skills to make you uh, capable enough to maintain your job. But at the same time, one thing we should recognize that we should not madly rush after greed or money. As long as we are able to maintain, aspirations are good, but greed is not. So as long as we are able to maintain our family, because you are in Varnashram Dharma, you are a Grihastha, knowing you are a Grihastha, and Grihastha is one of the ashrams, and you need to have arms to get bread onto the table. So if we're not doing that, you're not following Varnashram Dharma. If not learning the skills will let you go and you will have difficulty, then that is not the right thing. So you should learn skills to prolong your job life. At the same time, if you do not have spiritualism in your life will totally become dry. And that is exactly where we have to uh, associate. Actually, by just associating on a Saturday evening, we are learning a lot about the challenges we all have in our lives. Or this is this 1 hour or several hours of Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita interaction you're doing in this life, it's actually helping us act as a catalyst for the material life. Otherwise, if this is not there, material life is so complicated that you will have challenges. So, uh, so there are two sides of the coin, Prabhu. Don't let one thing go for the other, or knowing by the age, I know your time has not come for you to leave the workforce, even if it is sometimes very enticing, because this is what you are. You have a soul, and Krishna is residing. So it is natural for you. That means you have realized that Krishna consciousness or spiritualism is the fodder, because Krishna is in your heart. Not many people have realized it because it's covered with the illusory energy of the Lord for them. But you have realized it. But at the same time, we have to prolong our family life, which is a Grihastha ashram. It's an ashram by itself, and we cannot let it go. I know. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yeah, nicely explained. And also, I tested COVID positive today.
Oh, so I hope you do not have any symptoms, but Ayurvedic medication helps you soothe the symptom. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you do not have symptom, or do you?
No, I don't have any symptoms. Only
Okay.
I have a little bit throat pain. But yeah, because our office started actually weekly once we are going to office. Maybe due to that, I need to commute to Jersey City. So basically, I have to go with train, right? So due to that, maybe, it got infected. Yeah.
That's right. So, Prabhu, you try to take a lot of Ayurvedic stuff to build your immunity, And most of the time, for you're pretty young and you'll probably overcome it. But try to make sure that the COVID virus doesn't go too much deep into your system. Then it's a challenge. As long as you can, knock it off by steam or whatever your doctor says, sooner it gets out of the system is better.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, very good.
Let us know if we could be of any assistance, because this is a very close family we have. We are all connected to the Supreme, and this relationship is the best relationship, even better than families actually. So let us know if we could be of any assistance, and try to avoid as much public place, or tell your boss that you'll probably stay or work from home for a week or something. Don't
Yeah,
go to
I informed the manager, and he told that for 1 month you don't need to come. So work from home.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you see how Krishna is giving you a challenge on one side, and at the same time saving you 2 hours of travel and freeing you up yourself to learn new technologies and new scriptures.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, on Niranjan Prabhu, I think that's right. That was Niranjan Prabhu, I guess. Yes, Prabhuji. Hope you recover soon. Yeah, definitely. We all, as Nima Jagannath Prabhu told, we all go through this phase, Prabhuji. So our practical experience in this is, Prabhuji, always in our acharyas told that Krishna never asked Arjuna to go and sit under a tree and meditate, Prabhuji. He asked, you are a Kshatriya, you have to fight. So as far as learning the new skills is concerned, Prabhuji, there is no choice for us. We should learn. But what I have gone through the experience, and I'm sharing just my experience, Prabhuji. As Prabhuji told, Krishna reveals differently to different people. So he will reveal to you differently, Prabhuji. But the main focal point here is that if you keep Krishna in the center, Prabhuji, as Prabhuji rightly mentioned, if not for greed, but it is for your it is for your betterment and the longevity of the project or the longevity of the job life. Krishna knows your situation very well, Prabhuji. He is much more aware of it, and he knows the future of yours also, right? So you make the endeavor, Prabhuji, mercy will come. But the mercy will only come through what we call sadhana, Prabhuji. So sadhana is the most critical, Prabhuji. And what is the sadhana? Starting point of the sadhana is you keep in the center Krishna. You pray to him that, look, I have to learn, give me. He will show you a way, Prabhuji. He will show you a way that he will make time for you, Prabhuji. Because we used to think when before coming to Krishna, 16 rounds, who has time to do 16 rounds? But Prabhuji, if you surrender yourself, he gives you the time to do the 16 rounds, Prabhuji. So point is, keep him in the center and make your sadhana strict, Prabhuji, as far as possible. The quantity is not important, but surrender and the devotion is most important, Prabhuji. Even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that your time permits, and just between you and Krishna, what that is, Prabhuji. But he will make way for you to learn those new skills, Prabhuji, because we all are in this dynamic world. Everybody has to learn something new. Even animals, Prabhuji, they have to learn every day new ways to find their food, right? So similarly, we are like that. It is not that food comes to their in front of them, so they try to explore and get the food. So similarly, us also, we have to learn new skills. But only thing is, by keeping Krishna in the center, things will get and that surrender should be, as Prabhuji told, 4 people try to come, Prabhuji, but our surrender in Krishna consciousness, what they teach is that the surrender is to how can I serve you better, Krishna, in any condition of my life, that how I can serve you, and he will show the way, Prabhuji. He doesn't need our service, but it is the way he's changing our consciousness with this process. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nicely explained. Yeah.
Any other comments, Prabhu? Pradeep Tripathi, Prabhu, Shanta Mataji, any thoughts?
No comment, Prabhuji. Good examples you gave. Thank you.
I love the discussion, Prabhuji. Thank you.
How are you doing, Mataji? Is everything all right?
To me?
Yes, yes,
me?
Mataji. Shanta Mataji, everything all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I recently joined public school and everything going on fine.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very nice.
Thank you.
And how is your son?
Yeah, he's doing good.
Which grade he is in?
He is in 7th grade. It's going
Seventh
to
grade.
be next
Okay.
year.
Yeah, so middle school, right? Yeah,
Yes.
nice.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts before we close the call? Couple of announcements. We have a wonderful speaker from India. He's you might be reading Krishna Kathamrita Bindu, published from ISKCON Bhubaneswar, Gopalji Publications. The assistant editor of that Krishna Kathamrita Bindu, Madhavananda Prabhu, is the director. You all know. The assistant director, and that's a ISKCON bona fide publication. His name is Hari Parshad Prabhu. He is a very powerful speaker. He is coming to our temple coming weekend. I'll share his. So try to attend and gain some spiritual bliss by hearing them, because they bring in such beautiful analogies. It basically changes your life. It may change your life. So I'll share that flyer. And New York City Rath Yatra is on the 11th of June. New York City, thousands of people, the number one city in the world, and the number one street in the world, Fifth Avenue, and the number one personality in the world, Lord Jagannath, will be glancing at the streets on the Rath Yatra, 11th June. It's the biggest Rath Yatra in this area. There'll be prasadam for 10,000 people from ISKCON Brooklyn, and there will be at least 50,000 people attend that. It's all going to conclude in Washington Square Park near NYU. Beautiful way to get engaged. It basically set the tone for upcoming Jagannath festivals. 14th Tuesday, actual day Snan Yatra, and 1st July, the Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra, which we'll celebrate in our temple in the evening. And we have the Atlantic City Rath Yatra on the 2nd of July. And Baltimore Rath Yatra is the Saturday of that long weekend, which is coming up in the month of May. It's Saturday, which is the 28th, is the Baltimore Rath Yatra right in the Baltimore Harbor. They also do a beautiful Rath Yatra. So the Lord of the Universe have recognized that we are so lazy in our attempt to reach him that he comes out to show his mercy. And he comes out because in the age of Kali, we are so fallen that he doesn't discriminate between anyone. And he's being the Lord of the Universe. He comes out from his abode. Baltimore Rath Yatra on the 28th of May in Baltimore Harbor. 11th June, New York City Rath Yatra in the 5th Avenue, ending in Washington Square Park around 2 p.m. Saturday. Buses are going from our temple. Every year buses go. A lot of people will be coming. People in buses will come from Baltimore, Boston, and many places. Beautiful festive occasion. 14th June, Snan Yatra in our temple. 1st July, actual day, Jagannath Puri actual day Rath Yatra in our temple. And 2nd July, Atlantic City Rath Yatra in the boardwalk. So a lot of festivities. Help in whatever capacity you can. Every year, Lord Jagannath is so merciful. It comes out well. So make the most of it. Next Saturday, I'll touch base with you. It's the long weekend. I don't know. Some of you may be traveling to different parts. So I'll check with you, and based on that, we may have the katha or may not have the katha. But definitely we'll have the katha the first weekend of June. We'll definitely not have the katha on the second Saturday of June because everybody will be in the Fifth Avenue on that day, and so on. And then the Lord Jagannath, after getting bath, will transcendentally fall sick, and he will not give darshan. Exactly like how Niranjan Prabhu is getting sick, he's not giving darshan in the office. Lord Jagannath will not give darshan for 2 weeks. And then, so that's the personal aspect of Krishna, which is manifesting through these festivals. We all can experience and take to our lives. So with that, I would like to end here. If there is no other question or comments. Vancha kalpataru vesha kripa sindhu vaiva Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jagannath ki jai.
Jai.